Northwest up at Sonoma Raceway. The Radical dealer there, very keen to get out on the track and start this practice session. 45 minutes for the first practice session, one of two this morning for the Radical Cup North America Series, and around about 30 cars heading out on course. But it's fantastic. We just came from Road America, would you believe, Dick, just 2 weeks ago. And so to come from Wisconsin and the land of cheese over to this stunning scenery of Monterey and Carmel is fantastic for our drivers. I know that a lot of friends and family are joining them this weekend to celebrate their successes here at Laguna Seca.
Quite a bit of difference in the two tracks. Of course, Road America has that long straightaway here. Laguna Seca virtually has no straightaway.
Very tricky in terms of passing perhaps around here compared to what they experienced last time out at Road America, but a great track for high downforce prototype race cars, and the Radicals have a lot of downforce. You can see the big rear wing, the big rear diffusers, and there's also a big front splitter underneath the nose. And this track with so many near 90-degree, almost flat-out corners, you've got to really grit your teeth. And just fantastic to be able to bring these cars here.
Lots of mechanical grip on these cars, as you mentioned, lots of downforce, and it's quite exciting for these cars to come through the corkscrew, which is the signature corner here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
Well, and I think often it's that left-hander after the corkscrews. We watch them now trundle down through there, but just after the corkscrew, the left-hander is a fast left-hander. You can see it here at the elevation change through that corner. The car almost feels a little bit off camber, and you've really got to grit your teeth to keep speed and stay flat out through there. But we saw some great action, of course, last year. We were here for the grand finale, the last IndyCar race of the season, and it was our final round as well. The championship decided in that final race 3, and it really did come down to the pit stops. A local taking it out for Cameron Racing, Radical Northwest. And great to see so many cars from that team. But the story so far this season in the 3 classes, it really is John Field and Clint Field who have commanded all the attention in the Platinum class, featuring the SR10s, the 430 brake horsepower, 380 foot-pound Ford EcoBoost turbocharged engined Radical. And John Field, of course, a long-time American Le Mans Series competitor, as well as Clint. And father and son really enjoying their motorsport together again after a little bit of a hiatus. And it's been Clint that's leading the championship, but John has got a few more race wins. Greg Gorski, the 24 machine, has just hopped the charts at a 1:30.2. Expect the times to tumble quickly, but Gorski, a strong competitor in the Radical Cup over a number of years, stepped up to the Platinum class on those higher horsepower machines. He's also been running in Europe and in the Middle East in the Creventex series, typically in a Lamborghini, although has tried his hand at a Porsche as well. Loves the Radicals, though, and has just announced that he'll be going to the Radical World Finals this year at Abu Dhabi. And that'll be the 3rd time Radical has put on a World Finals event, which is fantastic to see so many competitors from around the world enjoying these machines. Championships on almost every continent.
Are there any drivers that are new to Laguna Seca in the series this year?
There certainly are, and we'll take you through that list in a moment. A number of drivers new to the series. We've got a good range of veterans and young guns. We talked about the fields, of course. In the 1500 class, it's been the Graham Rahal Performance Show and Jordan Missig, Nick D'Orlando leading the points. D'Orlando, a newcomer to Radicals. Missig actually using Radicals in his formative years to really learn his craft at Autobahn Country Club, and has come back to the Radical fray after a number of years in the what was known as Road to Indy or the USF programs. And Jordan trying to make the step up to Indy Next. He actually had his first couple of drives, one at the road course at Indianapolis earlier this year, and just again at Road America. He's got very little experience in the Indy Next cars, but said the Radical has prepared him beautifully. So Jordan's certainly been here in a Radical before. I know that Nick hasn't, but we'll just bring up the entry list in a moment and take you through some of those fresh faces and new names.
Yeah, the reason I ask is the first time you come to Laguna Seca and you crest the top of that hill, you cannot see the entrance to the corner. All of a sudden, the whole world disappears and it plunges down almost 10 stories, the left and the right, and then the left again at the bottom of the hill.
I've got to say, as someone that's been lucky enough to drive prototype cars that are low slung around this circuit many, many years ago, it was staggering to me when you do the track walk and you're typically at the bottom of the corkscrew looking up and thinking, oh my gosh, this is, it's unbelievable, that elevation change. And here they come through there right now. It's quite unsettling to see what you're about to do and embark upon in a car. Once you get behind the wheel, all that anticipation and build-up of the corkscrew, by the time you've braked for it and you're in it, you're through it. And that was sort of the funny realization that, as I say, that left-hander after the corkscrew for me was more of a fun corner, more of almost a challenging corner.
That's a tricky corner. It's a little off camber.
It is indeed. It is indeed. Or someone just catching a little bit of the dust to the exit of the final corner there as they head down the main straight. John Fields just done a 1:25.1, so that's more of an indicative time. Perhaps Chip Romer, a long-time SCCA competitor, has won the runoffs a number of times in prototypes. He's second quickest in the Platinum class. Jordan Missig setting the benchmark at the moment in Pro 1500 from D'Orlando. That teammate battle will rage once again. We're just looking a little bit further down to see what the order is in Pro 1340, and so far it's Blake McGovern, who's a newcomer to the series and the circuit. Blake McGovern from Apex in Arizona, and that's one of his fellow. In fact, that may have been Blake just finding the exit of that runoff. It's either him or his father in that bright green car, but another father and son combination, Blake and Keith McGovern. And Mike Anzaldi has returned to Pro 1340. He's second quickest at the moment in that class. Mike has been a long-time Radical competitor, had a very hard hit at Road America in turn 12 in Canada Corner. And unfortunately for him and his season, that Pro 1500 car needed a little bit more repair. So he's stuck it out here this weekend, which is great to see, but has stepped back into his spare car, which has a 1340cc engine, so running in a different class this weekend. And just for those folks that are watching along around the racetrack or around the world, the Pro 1340cc, that's a motorcycle-derived four-cylinder engine in the Radical SR3 chassis. And the Pro 1500 class uses this exact same chassis, same engine, but with a 1500cc engine, a little bit more horsepower, around about 230 versus about 205 for that 1340cc engine. So multi-class Le Mans style racing in this championship, a very, very good breeding ground, whether you're a driver that's coming to the sport a little bit later in life or a young gun like a lot of the guys in the front of the Pro 1500 field that are looking to make a mark and are commencing their motor racing careers.
Where do the drivers go from here? Where do they matriculate to? What group or class?
Well, the nice thing with Radicals is because they are a sports car, but a prototype sports car, They have all of the characteristics of a Formula car. So all the craft that you can learn in this car, you can apply to USF, you can apply to Indy Next like Jordan Missiger's doing. Of course, the nice thing is as well, it's also got a lot of similar characteristics to high-end GT cars, particularly modern GT3 machinery. And so again, what we tend to see is we've had some contact there with a couple of cars. Austin Riley is involved in that. You can just see that beautiful Dayglow blue and yellow car coming through. Now, that's not what we want to see in practice, but of course, better to have it happen now than
that looked
later
like
on.
It was the entrance to turn 3.
Yeah, and look, it's so easy there to perhaps drop a wheel. It could have been someone just getting really collected in someone else's incident. So to answer your question, Dick, really, everywhere, drivers, we just had, in fact, 5 alumni from the Radical Cup North America Series participate at Le Mans. We were lucky enough to have Bajoy Garg win in LMP2. He was on the podium as recently as last year.
We've got a replay
Barber
coming up of that incident. Excuse me, Tom.
That's all right. So here we are. So a car, you can see, yeah, a car just making I think trying to get out of the way, unfortunately, and making a move to the left-hand side of the track. And that was one of the faster SR10s that got caught out. Bit of an erratic move, and definitely the slower car that had that gaggle of traffic behind, doing the wrong thing there. No doubt the race director will take a look at that one.
Well, the other thing that these drivers are dealing with is new pavement, which for most of the groups that have run here so far this year on that new track pavement, they've shaved about 2 full seconds at least off their best prior lap times.
That'll be really interesting to see what happens when we get down to the nitty-gritty of qualifying later this afternoon and see what the drivers can do. Last year, we had some extremely quick lap times, and in fact, some new track lap records here. So as you say, with the new pavement, we're looking to do that all over again this year. And to give folks an indication, Nick D'Orlando just with a 24.9. He's the quickest overall now, and in the Pro 1500, so not even in that faster Platinum class car, has eclipsed the front runners of that. But he's really found some pace. And D'Orlando, young kid with searching for a budget all the time, is proving his worth. Of course, his older brother is running in the Indy Next program as well and doing very good. So the D'Orlando family has certainly produced some talent.
I'm sure you'd like to follow in his brother's footsteps.
Absolutely, and in being involved with Graham Rahal Racing, obviously the connection to the IndyCar team. It's a fantastic platform for the drivers in that program to stay close to Graham, and also to keep in the fray. Obviously, the Radical Cup, being with IndyCar 4 times in the last couple of years, has really provided these guys a lot of exposure to that IndyCar paddock. So, last year, in qualifying, we had John Field at a 1:23.4. So John Field's just done a 1:23.7. So at this moment, we've still got a bit of time to find in terms of eclipsing the pace from last year. But of course, we're only a few tours in to today and this weekend for the Radical Cup. As Chris McMurray, I think that may have been, has just run wide. And everyone trying to find their feet. So I think based on a message from Race Control, that was car 115 that was... And another driver running wide. So everyone's trying to find the groove in this new tarmac. And just trying to understand the limits of adhesion. The SR10 with their heavier engine, certainly out the back, just generates a little bit more understeer than the SR3s. The 3s are very, very, very planted. A beautiful chassis, a great learning tool That's why so many drivers start their careers in radicals at country clubs, in SCCA competition, NASA competition, and of course out here at the national level with the Radical Cup North America. The British Haggerty Radical Cup United Kingdom Series is racing this weekend as well. Shout out to our comrades and compatriots over in England. And a number of races going on. The Canadian Series is in full force. French Radical Cup. We have a series in the Middle East, in Australia as well. So lots of opportunities to tick off bucket list tracks this weekend. And speaking to Kenny Nail, another one of competitors from Graham Rahal Performance, this morning he was saying he saw Radical Cup racing last year here at Laguna Seca. Couldn't believe the performance of the cars. Realized it might be something where he could get involved in racing at a high-level IndyCar weekend at bucket list circuits like this one. And from that, got involved and said he's just been loving life. Every circuit he goes to this year, starting at Sebring. And then from there it was Barber Motorsports Park with IndyCar. Of course, Road America. Now we're at Laguna Seca. We'll be at the streets of Toronto in a few weeks' time and then finish up at Sonoma Raceway. And he said these opportunities to drive these circuits at these events with the atmosphere, the crowd, is just something that dreams are made of and something that he's wanted to do from being a very young age. And of course now he's getting to live out his fantasy here in the Radical Cup.
Well, it sounds like you've got the premier circuits in North America on your schedule.
Yeah, we try and do a good job of giving drivers the bucket list tracks, the destination race tracks. Of course, this one ticks both those boxes with Carmel and Monterey being just down the road. It's a good one to get the wife, the girlfriend along, the family along with the aquarium, etc. So the drivers and families really love coming over here and making the trek out, particularly those guys that come from the East Coast.
Of course, when you finish up at Sonoma and Wine Country, that's also a great destination that pleases the wives and girlfriends as well.
Not too shabby to celebrate everyone's success and perhaps commiserate as well a little bit with some bottles of wine from Sonoma, Napa Valley. Absolutely. There's Chris McMurray just going through in the Racer.com car. See, obviously, the Austin Riley's back on track in that stunning liveried blue and yellow machine. And if you don't know who Austin Riley is, check out racingwithautism.com. Austin Riley, a young guy with a big story and a remarkable story, but more than perhaps his own motor racing career and the trials and tribulations that he's overcome to have a very solid career, including winning a championship in Pro 1340 just a couple of years ago in the Radical Cup. He started a movement all around the world and is inspiring young kids with autism and reminding people that just because you have an affliction, something that makes your life tougher, doesn't mean that you can't chase your dreams. And if you want to get involved in his program, he's actually auctioning off a helmet. It's a stunning helmet of his, a fantastic piece of memorabilia. And that's really, really going to someone that's putting his heart and soul, along with his father, into his motorsport. And guys from Canada trek all across the continent to get to these events. But got a lot of stories like that really throughout the paddock. Some fantastic people. Wayne Williams in the 57 machine, S's Racing. Paddock actually just across the road from the Radical paddock, in the Porsche paddock, because S's Racing are running some cars in that as well. And he comes from a dirt background, sprint car star, turned onto the tarmac and wanted to wanted to choose the Radical because of the high horsepower SR10 machine. In fact, he was literally dancing in the paddock at Road America when the sunshine broke through and the rain started falling. But it wasn't his luckiest weekend. But watch out for Wayne Williams in the 57, usually a strong competitor in that class. We talked about Chip Romer and his SECA success. Evan Slater, another one to look out for, the young gun, driving for EVR Motorsports. And Evan was on the podium a couple of times, looking for a breakthrough win. He's got a couple of second-place finishes and things in the Pro 1500 class. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets his first win here this weekend. Really does seem that this place does often give people a bit of an outside chance. A different racetrack this is, different style of momentum. You've got to have a lot of confidence in the high-speed corners, as opposed to perhaps Road America, where you typically trim the car out a little bit more because of those long straightaways.
Yeah.
And if your driver's confident, as we've had a spin.
Someone's gone around.
Doesn't look like they've made it all the way out to the barriers.
That looks like turn 10.
Absolutely. So the dust, you can see there's dust in two areas of the racetrack there. So again, the driver's using this first practice session. And here we go. So what happened? Just a little bit too hot on the entry and tossing it down the racetrack. A good idea. Obviously, I think if you were to try and ride that one out on the curb and on the gravel, it'd be easy to hook up and find yourself hitting the outside wall. So
it looked like it was the exit of turn 4.
Yeah, so just a little bit too much speed in, and
well, so far the drivers have been very well behaved. There haven't been too many officer issues, so they're doing a good job of coming to terms with this new pavement and turning some impressive lap times as well. Still more to come.
Absolutely, and I think we will see those times you mentioned tumble. Evan Slater's the quickest now in Pro 1500. In fact, he's done a 1:24.9. To give you an idea of that, Danny Dashelski, runner-up to the championship last year in Pro 1500, it did a 1:24.9 in qualifying, so we're matching that pace. It was Nick Persing who took out the championship in the outright championship and the Pro 1500 championship last year for Cameron Racing and Radical Northwest. And we mentioned those guys have got a huge number of cars here this weekend, and another spin. That's one of the Apex competitors. I think that might be the 115 machine, who's unfortunately got beached. So I dare say this is going to bring out.
No, he's got it going.
He's got it going. So spoke to soon, and that was good to see. The motorcycle gravel traps here, not particularly car friendly, but obviously.
Well, they're better than they used to be. They were much thicker before, and once you got off into that, there was no way you could get out under your own power. It necessitated a lot of yellow flags, and since then it's gotten quite a bit better, and the drivers, in most instances, unless they go way off and really beach the car, are able to drive out and not interrupt the flow of the racing action on the track.
Yeah, that's right. It was the 158, my apologies. That was Mike Ellis that's just had a moment in turn 3 there. So John Field, a 1:23.1. So there we go. First lap times that have eclipsed last year in qualifying. We're only at practice 1 and only about halfway through.
Yeah, you've got another practice session, plus you qualify at 5 o'clock this afternoon.
Absolutely. So looking forward to that. A big day of action from the Radical Cup North America Series. Live stream presented by McDonald's. Thank them for being a partner. Of course, thanks to all our partners, USAC, Sunoco, Motul, Hankook, Racing Radios, HRX Racewear. Of course, McDonald's coming on board in a big way this year and really elevating the series to another level. So everyone jockeying for position a little bit. It's quite a bit of traffic, 30 cars around Laguna Seca. And Jack Yang has found some pace as well in Pro 1500. Jack got his breakthrough win, perhaps to the surprise of a few people, at our last event at Road America. Had the car trimmed out, felt very, very confident with that low downforce. And the team being a little tricky with a couple of other things. I heard perhaps a different gear ratio being used than a lot of the other competitors. But Jack Yang, with some outstanding speed, had a great battle with Nick D'Orlando, Evan Slater, Jordan Missig. And Missig will be looking to make amends from a pretty rough and tumble weekend at Road America. As we mentioned, he does lead that points championship. We're just going to have to look a little bit further back to find the front runners in Pro 1340, because the 1500s and the Platinum class cars have kind of found their pace at the moment. And as we've seen with the competitive nature of the championship this year, the classes have spread out a little bit more. It's Mike Anzaldi that's still fastest, so putting the effect of the competition, if you will, in Pro 1500, Anzaldi stepping back to Pro 1340 this weekend, and Anzaldi quickest at the moment from Ben Blander. They're two Rhino racing with Team Stradale cars out of Chicago, and that's good news for them, because Crown Concepts with Apex Motor Club out of Arizona has been very quick. Blake McGovern's third fastest with Keith right behind him. It's Evan Wolf and Mike Ellis who round out the top six.
I've seen a couple of moves being made up in the corkscrew on the entrance up there, some passes.
Yeah, it's pretty bold.
Unusual. Yeah, that's not normally a place that passes take place.
Well, we're going to see a lot of passing, and this is going to be a great races for the race fans here this weekend. Looks like another one to look out for will be Steve Jenks, who's returned to the series. I can see a little typo on timing and scoring. It's Jenks with a J, not a G, but Steve has been really, really strong in Radical Cup for a number of years. He's an open wheel competitor. He's raced really all his life. And Steve was used to driving the Platinum class cars. He's elected to come back into the Pro 1500. Wanted to mix it up with the best of these young guns. And I think Jenks will be one to watch. It's Matt Romer who's fastest in that class. Apologies, he's not fastest. It's Nick D'Orlando who's still fastest. Matt Romer's fourth fastest behind Evan Slater, Jordan Missig as well. Spencer Schmidt will be one to watch, and we've got another spin. So you can see there's actually some smoke further back as well. So a couple of drivers tossing it off into the scenery.
That's turn 5. That's the
and the red flag.
And red flag is going to be out because he is in an impact zone there.
Yeah, and that was Clint Field in the 36. Another race winner at Road America. So everyone just finding their feet. Of course, practice is the time to do it.
That's a high-speed corner. Everybody wants to get a good exit speed out of 5 as they start to climb the hill to the top of the racetrack and to the corkscrew. So red flag all. They'll all have to come into the racing pit lane until they can get that car that is beached out of that impact zone. And we can resume this practice session. Now, in terms of the season, where are we? Are we midway, past midway, or just about
Just
there?
starting the second half of the season. So this is round 4. Yeah, really looking forward to the final 3 events of the championship, this being the first of those. And the championship's very much alive in all 3 classes. The points extremely tight. And in fact, you know, we mentioned that the competition level just keeps stepping up. So we'll just get a quick replay here of a couple of different moments. And so we're looking for Yeah, big lock-up from Clint Field. And quite early on, the 36 machine around quickly, firing it into that gravel trap. So you can see that lock-up quite early on. A couple of competitors at Road America too, suffering from some, what I'd say is a bit unusual lock-ups. I don't know if the guys are running some different brake biases and trying a few things, but we saw one of the SR10 machines have a big moment in turn 3 at Road America. Bit of a similar type of incident, but of course a different outcome because the walls are a bit closer in that part of the circuit at Road America. So cars all trundling into pit lane. Drivers will take a slight breather, and we'll get this cleaned up. 14 minutes remaining on the clock, so should be enough time to get a couple of laps in. I'm sure everyone will be keen to do so.
Now, they should be able to make some adjustments to the cars under this red flag situation, I'm assuming.
Yeah, absolutely. Because this is a practice session, yep, they can adjust the cars. Once we get into qualifying, that is effectively parc ferme conditions. And so qualifying, they won't be able to work on the cars in this type of situation, but certainly right now, not a problem.
So we've got a little bit of time until the emergency personnel get over there and take that car out of the gravel trap in turn 5. Went off driver's right pretty deep. Looks like the car's gone as we get a video picture of that area now.
Yeah, I can hear cars just firing back up in pit lane, so I imagine we're going to go back green any moment now. And you can tell that people are eager to get out there. You mentioned halfway through the championship points battles are tight. All 3 classes are up for grabs. To give folks an idea of who's on top of the charts, it's Jordan Missig who leads the outright championship from Nick D'Orlando, Clint Field, Suelio Almeida, and we'll have a lot to say about him throughout the weekend, and Evan Slater. They're the top 5. Now, the way that the point system works for the outright, it takes into account how many competitors in each class, and it is an outright championship. It doesn't, regardless of class, and everyone vying for that one. Typically, the driver that has competed against the most competition throughout the year will win that outright championship. In terms,
so an overall championship and then 3 championships, 1 in each class.
Correct. So in terms of that platinum class, it's Clint Field that leads from his father John. Louis Schreiber sits 3rd in the championship points at the moment. All of those guys, in fact, Chip Roma in 4th, 90 points or less separating those guys, and very much up for grabs the Platinum Class Championship. Jordan Missig has just retained a slim lead. As we mentioned, he had a rough and tumble weekend at Road America. Nick D'Orlando's closed in to 3 points of Jordan Missig in Pro 1500. Evan Slater has started to make a move and has sort of separated himself as we go green again. But Evan Slater sort of solidified, if you will, 3rd place in that championship. Spencer Schmidt, you're asking yourself, is that the Schmidt of SP McLaren? Yes, it is. So Spencer is Sam Schmidt's son, and Spencer, I think Sam might have tried to keep him out of motorsport for as long as possible, but eventually Sam wanted to go racing, chose the Radical Cup. I think he's enjoying the fact that, you know, with the family connections in the IndyCar paddock, also enjoying these weekends.
While the cars were stopped down below us, I got a chance to look at them while they were stationary, and they're just beautifully turned out. The graphics and the paint jobs are just spectacular cars to look at.
Yeah, they are stunning cars. Beautiful, you know, obviously very Le Mans-esque lines, you know, an aerodynamic piece. And originally the Radical platform, the SR3 in particular, based on a Ferrari 333 SP in terms of the old lines. And if you go back and look at you can really see the resemblance with the cars 20 or so years ago. Of course, Radical being around for over 25 years going on 28 years now, as we've got a slow car entering pit lane as we start the final 10 minutes of this session. So I think that's Clint Field just returning to the paddock, perhaps.
Yeah, he's going to the back paddock.
Yeah, and obviously something happened between the cut through it off of 10. We'll just get through those other championship points, because I know the Pro 1340 guys don't want to be missed out. It's Suelio Almeida who has taken the lead in the championship from Chris McMurray. McMurray, a long-time competitor in terms of motorsport, Le Mans starter numerous times, raced in the American Le Mans Series, very, very aggressive driver, makes no apologies for it. Chris has been, well, he's been in trouble a little bit too many times this year in terms of the stewards, and has given up a number of race wins. McMurray really should be in a strong command of the Pro 1340 Championship, but it's Suelio Almeida, a kid, would you believe, started life as a concert pianist. In COVID times and just before, we got into the sim racing world. Because of his background, I guess the hand-eye coordination, the feet and fingers coordination of being a pianist, started applying the diligence of his craft to racing, has become the discipline, exactly, and has become an expert coach online. In fact, he's coaching real-world racers through his program. He's written a book, and now his racing, or online racing, has got him the opportunity to race in the real world again with the Radical Cup program, and unbelievable performance. You could see his, if you follow him online, you can check out his YouTube channel and follow along for the season. The emotion this kid has. This is, he's gone from racing in the virtual world where if you've been it doesn't matter, just press the reset button, to racing with his own money. If the car gets crashed, if he gets crashed into, whatever happens, it's his $6,000 and his $5,000 or $2,000 that needs to be spent to repair it. And all of a sudden, the emotion that comes with real-world racing, the heartache that I don't think exists in any other sport. This is a brutal sport. You can do everything right. The engine can blow up. You can get crashed into. Someone takes you out. A $5 component fails. Whatever happens, and he's experiencing all of that for the first time. It's a great story, and great to watch on along with Suelio Almeida.
But where the unexpected?
Checklist.
But where the unexpected?
Exactly. And of course, that's what makes, victory so much sweeter. You know why drivers have so much emotion when they're spraying the champagne on the podium, because so much has gone into it. I remember years ago being introduced to Mario Andretti, and one of his comments was, there's only two types of racing driver, those that have hit the wall and those that are going to, which is quite apt. And then the other thing was that, even he admitted that you're always going to lose a lot more races than you ever win. And when you think of someone as storied as Mario saying that, it just puts things into perspective. These guys, for some of these guys, it's a hobby. For some of these guys, it is a career they're looking to build. And for others, it is a drug they can't shake. And but wherever you are in terms of your motor racing, the passion that exists and the angst, the frustration, the trials and tribulations, and the excitement and enjoyment that comes out of this sport, I don't think anything else quite gets the emotions running like this one, and we'll see that this weekend.
Yeah, I once had a driver tell me, if you don't spin, you're not going fast enough.
Well, we've seen that a little bit this weekend.
Test the limits.
Speaking of going fast, John Field with a 1:23.1, his best lap so far.
I've been watching that and wondering when he's going to get under 123. into the 22s.
You know what's going to happen this weekend? Nick D'Orlando with tremendous pace as well. 1:24.3 to be fastest in Pro 1500. And we'll go and check out our folks in 1340. It's Mike Anzaldi who's still top of the charts there. Ben Blander's just done a 1:30 flat. And Keith McGovern's just done a 1:29.2. But at the end of the day, it's Mike Anzaldi. Oh, apologies. Blake McGovern's actually just gone quicker. So 1:27.8 for Blake. So he's now quickest in that class. Chris McMurray's just put in one as well, a 1:27.8. So good thing that we got back green here, because everyone using these last 4 minutes to put in some flyers, perhaps that momentary break in the session, just allowing the drivers to decompress, think about what they've been doing, and put it all together. It's important. You mentioned that this track is a little different to a place like Road America. The straights are a little shorter. Of course, there's that kink in the front straightaway here, turn 1. And so it is important as a driver to really try and find a place around the circuit where you can stop, reset, think about the lap you just did, think about what you need to do through the next sequence of corners and work on over the next couple of laps. There's no point just touring around there. And none of these guys are doing that. They're all trying to work out where they can find an extra mile an hour, carry a little bit more road speed through the corner, grit their teeth, really find the limit without overstepping it, because everything counts. And with the way that the momentum works around this racetrack, just a mile an hour, say through turn 3 or 4, you can start carrying that all the way up the hill. And conversely, of course, if you have a little moment, the deficit's there and it remains for so long, really until you get up to the corkscrew.
Until you get to the top of the hill.
Then it resets, and then you're coming down into the final corner, and then it resets again. So it's easy to be a little bit off the pace around here, feel a little demoralized. But of course, if you can just chip away at that mile an hour in each of the corners.
It's also critical to get a good exit speed out of turn 11, that final corner, because that puts you on what essentially is the only straightaway here at WeatherTech Raceway.
And very easy to get lulled into outbraking yourself, trying to extract the most amount of lap time in the braking zone, but compromising that exit. And of course, not just compromising the lap that you were on, but the lap you're about to start. And so I think you'll see in qualifying a couple of guys really coasting into that final corner, making sure they set themselves up for their burner. And you know, we'll see a little bit of jockeying for position 2 with 30 cars on track.
Less than 2 minutes to go in the session before the checkered flag waves. This is the first practice for the Radical Cup cars here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, this weekend.
Yeah, Matt Roma, it's looking pretty good in Pro 1500. He's sitting 4th behind Nick D'Orlando, Evan Slater, Jordan Messig.
And Field got down to 122, 122.8.
Just passed the post again and went slightly quicker. So there you go. You wondered when it was going to happen. Well, it's already happened. So now we've got to see if we can get down to the 121s. Of course,
that's a tall order.
The racetrack is going to evolve a lot over the weekend. Different tyre manufacturers. We're on the Hankook rubber. Of course, the Firestones in the IndyCar series. We've got
Porsche's on Yokohama.
I think the it's going to be interesting to see how all of that plays together. And as it rubbers down, typically once the IndyCar guys get out, obviously they're putting down a lot of rubber. They're relatively high deg tyre. And so typically the track changes. Now, we're yet to see whether that will add speed or take away a little bit of grip. It's conceivable that it does the latter, just with the way that the compounds of tyre interact. But that's all to come, and something that these drivers will have to contend with as the weekend progresses. Of course, 3 races, 3 40-minute races for the Radical Cup program, each weekend, a lot of driving, and the checkered flag is coming out. But crucially, the other thing to note is qualifying only sets the grid for race 1. The lap times in race 1 set the grid for race 2. The lap times in race 2 set the grid for race 3. What that means is we might have a guy that has an issue in qualifying, can work his way back up through the front of the field. It also means that you can't afford to make a mistake on the opening couple of tours in any of the races, because not only are you disadvantaged or perhaps a DNF in that race, but you won't have set an indicative time or a qualifying time for the subsequent race. So in theory, that should take a little bit of the drama out of the opening laps, although in practice, of course, once the visor shuts and the red mist starts to accumulate, we often see a bit of commotion with the multi-class racing into turn 1 here. The way that corner kind of closes up on the exit, it actually...
Well, it closes up, then it goes into a double apex corner in the Andretti hairpin.
Correct. So
and we've been seeing some spins coming out of the Andretti hairpin on the entrance to turn 3.
That's right, already. And so you can imagine what it's going to be like when we fire 30 cars down into turn 1 for the first time. That's going to be fun tomorrow morning. Well, we've got the checker, and we'll be back in a while. It's John Field who's set the indicative pace so far in the Platinum class, a 1:22.8. Louis Schreiber has found some speed as well, 1:23.4. He's got some work to do. In fact, a few of those guys do in the Platinum class if they want to reach John Field's speed. Nick D'Orlando, 4th quickest overall, but the fastest in Pro 1500. And Evan Slater, 2nd quickest from Jordan Missig. Spencer Schmidt doing a good job there as well. Matt Roma also in the mix in that class. And then we're back a little bit further, and it looks like it was Mike Anzaldi who found the speed in Pro 1340 from Chris McMurray. Some fireworks between them at Road America. Be interesting to see what happens this weekend. Steve Jenks still coming to grips with the 1500 car. Blake McGovern, 3rd quickest in the Pro 1340 class. Strong result for him. Evan Wolf, then Keith McGovern, Ben Blander. And when I look over all of these results, it's amazing how many drivers have either taken a win in seasons past, taken a win this season, or have the absolute pace and potential. So we're going to see some great racing this weekend.
They're on the cusp.
They are on the cusp, and we're going to see some great racing from all 3 classes in the Radical Cup North America this weekend.
Tom Dura, thank you very much. We'll see you back here at noon for practice 2 for Radical Cup North America.